Hi guys, how are you guys doing? It's a girl, Owamie, aka Miss Pia Focal, and I am back with another video. This is Boldly Owamie. So thank you guys so much for subscribing and allowing me reach obviously 10,000 subscribers. That's crazy. Looking at the fact that I don't even upload that much, like, that's wild. Thank you guys. The other thing again that I do have to say is thank you so much for all the love that I received on my previous video, the update and telling you guys that I was coming back. You guys honestly just showed up. Like, thank you guys so much. The fact that we got over 20,000 views in a day and I had not posted in like 2 months, like, it just shows how much you guys love me. So thank you so much. I love you guys too. So I thought, hey, even though it's a Saturday, let me go ahead and bless you guys with a story time. And this story time, you guys, is a tricky one. I actually remembered this morning and I was like, I'm gonna film it, edit it and upload it for you guys. So this story time, you guys, is of the time that I truly suspect, and I was not the only one, that my ex-husband's family member wanted to infect me with HIV in the clinic. Like, at the clinic. Like, I know, like, it sounds crazy, and I've told you guys, like, if you follow me on Owamie Entertainment, I've spoken of a lot, like, I've done a lot of story times, but guys, literally I've not even reached the peak of like all the nonsense that I had to deal with that freaking family. Okay. When I tell you guys that the love that I had for that man, I was literally Dr. Nandipa level, which I do have a Dr. Nandipa story. Almost ran to Zimbabwe. I'm sure that's gonna be the next story. Like, now when I think about all these things, like, I cringe, because I'm like, darling, he wasn't even worth it. Like, what the hell? Like, Owamie, what's going on? What was going on with you, So I've not told a story time in a long time, but I hope that I'm still well articulated, guys, and I don't bore you. But let's go ahead and get into this. So I don't really know how I'm gonna be able to talk about her without necessarily like revealing too much. The area that I was at, Free State, it was a very small area that everybody knows everybody's business. Okay, like, you talk about a person, just to say 1, 2 and 3, they've already put together this is the person you're talking about, because it's such a small area and it's not a lot of people that are doing much, so you just already know. Do you understand? But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and just call this woman Tandaza. Okay, I'm gonna call her Tandaza. And so, okay, the first time that I met Tandaza was when I actually went to the Free State with my ex, and I don't know, man, like, I feel like at that point, I don't know if I should be calling him my ex-husband or I should be calling him with my husband at the time, because he was my husband. Because I feel like somehow it takes away from like the severity and maybe how he would actually act if I say my ex-husband, because it's almost like I went there with my ex-husband, like as if he was my ex-husband already at that time. But I'm gonna go ahead and just say, okay, I went there with my husband, but obviously you guys know that this is my ex-husband I'm talking about. All these people are my exes. All of them, including the in-laws and everybody. But I feel like it will just make things easier if I just refer, as if I'm going into that time and telling the story as how it is at that time. I think it's more interesting. You guys should comment down below and tell me if that's something that you like, or I should just stick to my ex-husband. But anyway, the first time that I met Tandaza, I went to Free State with my husband, and that was the first time ever that I was actually physically seeing the Free State where my husband was coming from at that time, right? So, okay, Shapo here, we get there. We slept over. The first night, we slept over at his grandmother's house. Now, guys, when I tell you that there's also story time there, that night was literally one of the most scariest nights of my life. Okay, the things that the grandmother said, and mind you guys, she's a sangoma, it was weird, and what she did, that's a story time I'm gonna tell you guys still. So basically, obviously, when we arrived at my husband's place, and then we had to go and sleep at his grandmother's place, because I think I've told you guys that at his home they did not like really build, it's like rooms, and there's not enough space for all of us to can actually sleep there. So that was that, right? So for me, the first thing that I saw when I arrived, the way that my husband, before I even went there, had already explained, like, no, he was, I feel like he was a bit embarrassed about his home or the situation at home, because he kept on saying, you know, we don't have a house, you know, the place is not proper, you know, this and this and this. And honestly, at that time I didn't care about anything, because, you know, I loved him. And I think that maybe due to the fact that he had already seen my home, and maybe in his mind he was kind of comparing the two, he honestly like didn't want me to have any expectations at all. But the way that he had spoke the place, which I feel like is sad, but at the time I arrived, I was like, what do you mean? Like, they have got, like, you know, at least you've got accommodation. The way that he was talking was almost as if like there's no house, somehow they live in papers or something. Like, it was just crazy. And so I would say that the thing that I also realized was that when I got in, like, they had like a room divider and they had boards, and I was like, boards? Like, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. When I went to the grandmother's house, she also had a room divider and she had boards. And mind you guys, the time that we went there, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 2016 the first time. I think it was 2016. So like late. So it wasn't that late, like where people are still using boards. You know, those are genders that I think that disappeared about 1995, 1996. Like, I honestly felt like getting there, I had just entered a time machine and I was put back in 1995. The place itself, not his home, but like the area itself, it looked dry. Like, it was almost like people were living in 1995 somehow. I don't even know how to explain it. Like the mannerism, how life is so slow, you know, like fast at the same time with other things. But my first impression was just like, wow, like this place is freaking slow. They still use boards in 2016. Like, what the hell is going on? But anyway, my mother-in-law at that time, like, she was very excited to see us, you know. Her son had just gone home after a very long time that they did not speak. Okay, they did not talk together, like speak for like, I think over a year, almost 2. And the subject of fighting was me, but now I wasn't involved. So I told myself that, you know what, if mother and son are fighting, I'm not gonna insert myself. I will still call my mother-in-law and I am with my husband, you know. So even though I knew that she's fighting with my husband because she doesn't like me, or there's a situation that happened that I just couldn't understand, I was just now at a point where there were so many fights before I even physically met them that I was just already over it, you know. And so I would call her, greet her sometimes, and that's it, and I wouldn't like care what is going on. But when we went there, you guys, physically, she was very excited. I don't know if she was also excited the fact that, you know, they had also now just reconciled, and her son is home. She had not seen him in a very long time, but still he's with me, the one she doesn't like, because now I was like, I am going nowhere. Okay, I'm staying here. This is where the hill I'm dying at that time. Now, obviously, you know, she wanted to like show me off. You know, this is my son's wife, blah, blah, blah. Because remember at that time we were even engaged. And so she now was the one that, oh, and she also wanted to show off the car. Because that time when driving the Nissan Tida, which in that area, guys, like, that's like a Benz. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, I'm exaggerating. I am not exaggerating. Like, a Nissan Tida is like a Benz. I'm sure my X-Trail is like a Bugatti. But you know what, let me not. And I'm not even like saying it in a bad way. It's just a matter of like, these people are literally like, they still use boards even to today. So like, you can't blame me for saying what I'm saying. And like, it's everyone, like, it's the style. So, you know, she also wanted to show off the car and everything. So sharp hair, she's like, let's go. So she took us to the aunt. She took us to, they don't really have a lot of family members, you know, because like there's a lot of fights. But I feel the first time I went there, they kind of like really tried to behave. I'm sure that everyone was like, listen, there's a new makoti that is coming into this family. Let's not embarrass ourselves. Like, let's try. Because at that time, we even went to the uncles, you know, went to Rakadi, auntie, we went to the uncles. And then we went to the grandmother who obviously we slept there. And then we even went to Tandaza's house. Now, you know, obviously when we went to the Malume, Rakadi, everything was fine. But when we went to Tandaza's house, you guys, it was just different thing. It was different in terms of, Tandaza was someone that she's a nurse. She's an auxiliary nurse, okay? If you know, that's like entry level to nursing. And so, you know, Tandasa is very proud of herself. She has a picture of herself in the uniform, and she even has a picture of her certificate for the auxiliary nursing. She has that hang on the wall. Now, the house that she's staying in, it's an RGP, so it's a government house, right? And then in there, she had like a sound system. You guys know, I think it's those Samsung sound systems that used to have mini speakers, but the smaller one, not those big ones, but it was like a proper sound system. And she also had, I think it was like a 32-inch plasma. Okay, it's an RGP house, obviously, so it's not really big. The space is not that big, but you know, when we were entering, the reason why I'm describing is because, guys, Tandasa was acting like the house that she's living in is like a double story, and I honestly couldn't understand. But obviously, as time went, I understood, and I'm gonna have you guys understand. Like, she was like boasting, okay? Like, she was not necessarily saying to me, but she was just saying things to my mother-in-law that I knew. Like, this is information that I'm supposed to get in terms of like, yeah, you know me, I'm very smart, Shem. I got a guy that actually like came here and did the RGP house for me, this and this. Like, somehow she's got a lot of connections. Like, I'm sorry if the light keeps going up and down. The window at the back, guys, it's messing things up. I'm sorry. And so, you know, I'm listening to everything that she's saying, and there's nothing wrong with staying in RGP, but obviously she was now just saying that she obviously did something to make sure that she gets that house, which she wouldn't qualify since she's working for the government, you know. And she was also talking about like her nursing certificate. The way that she was praising it, it was like a doctorate degree. Like, you would think that it's a doctor's degree, but also I didn't see any problem with that. But I did pick up because of the way that she was talking, and the reason why I described the radio and the TV, my mother-in-law was like, how, you know, your place is so beautiful. Like, Lynn Nanja was a bit dumb because I'm like, if there were people that visited each other, she should already know the place, you know. And she's like, yeah, you know, I went here, at this TV, yo, you have no idea, hey, you know, my radio. Like, she was like talking in that way, and my mother-in-law busy more. You know, I'm just quiet, I'm just looking. I look at the wall, you know, I see the picture of her wearing her uniform. There's absolutely no episode, not even the white one, honey, nothing. And so I also see the certificate, and it does say, you know, auxiliary whatever, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice. You know, it's a job, and auxiliary nurses, they do earn. But the way that she was just going about it, man, big swanker, guys. And then she was like, yeah, I'm about to build such a huge house here. I'm about to build such a huge house. I'm gonna extend here. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. Like, guys, the whole conversation was just all about her bragging and boasting about one thing or another. Did she not even boast about a Cavella? Yes, a Cavella. I don't even know how much a Cavella is. Was it like 1,000 in those days? That's what I'm saying. This place is so outdated. Like, at that time, she was still boasting about a Cavella. She bought herself a Cavella, and she used to have 2 kids. One passed, and then, you know, at that time they were both alive, obviously, and she was like, yeah, I bought my daughter, I bought my son, this, and I'm like, okay. Like, honestly, for me, guys, there was just a lot of things that I just blocked out of my mind. But I was like, yeah, 1, she talks too much, and 2, she's such a boastful person, you know, like, it's just absolutely crazy. But anyway, I didn't have a problem with her. You know, the meeting was kind of like okay, and then after that we went home. I think we stayed there for 2 nights, if I'm not too mistaken, and then after that we drove back. So I think it was for a weekend. I don't remember why we had even gone there, if it was to resolve one problem or another, or it was just a matter of we just wanted to go there and sit there, right? And then after that we came back to Gauteng, my husband and I. So that was the first encounter that I had with her. The second time that I would say that I had an encounter with her and now had to start actually seeing her in her true colors was when we now moved to Free State. When we moved to Free State, we were staying with Rakadi, right? The first night that we arrived there was fights. Not with Rakadi. Rakadi, honestly, I feel like she was like, honestly, the angel of the whole crew. Like, she was a good person. Unfortunately, she passed away, but she was really a good person. She's the one that I feel welcomed me very much. And so the first night that we went there, there was like some drama, man. You know, Rakadi now had to leave and go to where, you know, Tandaza's daughter was staying because she was pregnant. And then after that, you know, same night, she comes back with Tandaza's daughter. So it was like somehow Tandaza had a problem with the fact that me and my husband were staying there, because I think she just felt that she was closer to her, and so why are we? Because remember, now I found out that Tandaza and my parents-in-law, they were like cats and dogs. Okay, so it was like stupid things, the most stupidest things, like the fact that we would be staying there. What is it a problem? So now Tandaza's daughter also had to be brought in, and she was now staying there. Mind you, Rakadi were also staying in an RGP. So me and my husband were sleeping in Rakadi's house. There was also 2 children that Rakadi had taken in that she was staying with. Rakadi had to move and stay and sleep in the shack, and she would sleep in the shack with Tandaza's daughter. Okay, and I guess that did not treat Tandaza well at all, because she had bought Rakadi the bed that me and my husband were using at that time. Now, mind you guys, at that time the car has been repossessed. We were going to Free State broke AF. Like, we didn't even have one rent, guys. We didn't have any money. We arrived there with like those bags that you guys know, you know, and it was just such an uncomfortable situation. It was even horrible, more horrible for me, because I couldn't understand a thing when it comes to Zulu, and Rakadi couldn't speak English. She could only speak Zulu and Afrikaans, and so I can't speak Afrikaans to save my life, but I had to learn Zulu, obviously. So like everything that was going on, the phone calls that were being made, I had to be asking my husband like, what's going on now? And it's like, oh, this is what's happening, this is what's happening. And mind you guys, like, I'm only like meeting her and having to get to know her, Urakadi, that time. Now, you know, Tandaza's daughter did come stay with us. Honestly, she was really nice. I wouldn't even say anything. I do remember though that there was a time she even told me that, yo, you know, we had seen some pictures, and then there was a rumor that my husband was dating like a Nigerian woman. They thought I was a Nigerian woman. I don't know what about my face makes people think that I'm Nigerian. I don't know. But it was like, yeah, and then they were like, oh, he's into drugs. That's why he was even able to even buy the car he's driving. Because to them, like, honestly, like, anything is like a big deal. Do you understand? And so we would just love. We were really connected. We got to be very close. Unfortunately, she passed during birth. And so, you know, that was such a sad situation. So throughout, you know, I'm going to try and fast forward the story. But my experience with Tandaza was not like pleasant. What she would do is that she would leave her home, come to Rakadi's place where we were staying, and then she would like make noise, make umsindo and whatnot, due to the fact that obviously her daughter was staying there and me and my husband were staying there. My husband's parents, they actually bought, like, they would buy food and bring to Rakadi, but Tandaza would not want to bring food here. And what she would also do is that she would her daughter would call her boyfriend, who she was staying with, who she was carrying the baby for, to come and eat here at Rakadi, but they're not bringing food. And so when my in-laws heard of that, they were like, we're no longer going to bring food there. If you guys want to eat, you will just come home and eat. And so guys, kabanga, like, they got a time where every single day we had to wake up. When we wake up, boom, we leave, we go to my in-laws house. That's where we will eat like our breakfast, our lunch, and our lunch, yeah, our dinner, and then after that we're gonna walk back to Rakadi's place. And it was a distance. Hey, the fact that like we used to walk that, like, it's wild to me. And then now, obviously, due to the fact that my in-laws were no longer bringing food, started being a problem again. Tandaza now started to act like, yeah, now somehow she was bringing stuff they are not. Like, guys, there was always just stupid fights. Like, I don't even want to lie. Tandaza beka delela njena. And she would come, you know, insult my husband. That guy, like, cannot pendula to save his life. And then now, like, I'm new here, I don't want to like step on wrong toes. I do not know these people, and so, you know, I would just sit there. And I remember there was a time she was like, oh, I'm gonna get you a job, had this and this, you know, had his hopes high, never ever did. So it was just, there was a lot, guys. And then there was a time that my ex was, my husband at the time, was supposed to get a job, and the connection that we had to get that job was actually Tandaza's daughter, because Tandaza's daughter was cool. Tandaza's daughter dies before that deal goes through, and obviously we lose contact. And so obviously Tandaza goes to tell that woman that was supposed to help my husband that we, like me and my husband, I think we're the ones that killed a child, blah blah blah, and I'm Venda, I'm a witch or something. Like, just stories that just didn't make sense, you guys. Like, when I just hear through the grapevines, but I'm like, I don't care, you know. Now things got so bad after her daughter passed. I don't know if she went to Samsangoma and then they told her, like, either maybe we or Rakadi is the one that killed her daughter. I do not know, because her attitude completely changed. She came, she took her bed, like I'm laughing now. It wasn't funny at that time. When she came to take her bed, Urakad was not even at home, guys. I was the only one that was home. I can't remember where my husband was at that time, but the kids had gone to school. I was the one at home. I was busy cleaning, whatever. Haibo, now ngutanda sa fumbu. Uyafika guys neven. Haibo, okay, I came to take the bed. Okay, you know, like, I didn't even know that she was the one that bought that bed. And then you know, she enters, removes our blankets, takes her bed, puts in the car and leaves. Now mind you, because of her daughter died, there was a bed there at her boyfriend's place. They were fine, and then she had her own bed. I don't even know what she did with that bed that she gave Urakadi, because she gave Urakadi a used bed. It was not like it was a very nice bed. The bed I was using in Gauteng that was in storage was better than the bed that she came to actually take, you know. But I was like, nah, I'm someone that, guys, when I don't have, I don't have. Like, I'm not gonna be like out here begging you for your stuff. She took the bed. When Rakadi came back, I explained to her. Actually, before she came back, I called Rakadi. I was like, oh, Tandasa came and took the bed. And then Rakadi, like, I could see her heart was very painful. You know, she was like, no, she's taking it because she does not want my own children to be sleeping on this bed, blah blah blah. I can't even remember where Rakadi actually got a bed, but I remember that the mattress, guys, it was so bad that we had to fold blankets and put in the hole, and then, you know, cover with blankets, and we would sleep on that. I think that, like, when I'm just thinking about these things now, like, I just remember it was such a long journey, like, literally, that, like, if honestly my marriage had worked, it would have honestly been one of the greatest, like, success stories, because wow, we went through it. Now, even after she came to take the bed, she would still come. So she would come, she would just be harassing. She would even harass the kids that Rakadi was staying with. It was just one fight after another. I can't remember, but I think that there was a day that I was like, how was she, and then we had sort of like a disagreement or something, and then, like, obviously from there, like, we were not speaking to each other. So she would come, we wouldn't speak, nothing. She would also not speak to my husband. And then after that, you know, that was when my in-laws were like, no, let's rather, you know, you come stay this side. And so we moved, mainly due to the fact that we were now fighting with her, and also the older child of the ones that Rakadi was staying with. Like, she was just fighting with everyone. I think she was just going through something. But then, you know, we moved now, and I go stay with my in-laws now full time. So to the actual day of the chain day, me suspecting, so you guys now can see, like, oh, girl did not like us at all. She's even taken her bed. We have had fights and everything. So at this point, we were not even talking. Even if I meet her, I just don't talk to her. I'm very good at, like, not talking to people. Like, no, I'm honest. I'm not someone that's gonna bother you in your own space, or no matter where. I'll meet you in the road and I'll pass you. Like, I'm completely fine with that. As long as I have my peace, I'm fine. So I go to the clinic, you guys. I can't remember, I think I had flu, because, you know, first it was very cold, and so, you know, I had to go to the clinic. When I got to the clinic, there was a line, like, there was a long line. And so, you know, we were moving. Haibo, Utandaza comes, passes, she looks at me and she passes. I'm like, okay, I don't care, like, this is not her mother's clinic. This is a clinic government. And besides, at that time, guys, I was so poor that, like, I couldn't even afford, like, private health, you know. So it was definitely gonna be the clinic for sure. And so that's where I was at. I had gone in and booked myself in, obviously, like what you do when you enter the clinic and everything. And then as I was sitting there, you know, and I'm looking at all the people, I'm like, yo, and these are people that I actually got there, you know. So Shabu Haibo, out of nowhere. So what they were doing is that they would have people's files in there, and then they would be calling people. right, they would actually be calling people. Now you guys need to remember that the nurse, the auxiliary nurse, like they will take your BP, you know, they will take your measurements and whatever like that they need to take. But mostly when you're consulting, you are going to consult with, like, you know, a private, I don't know, like a sister, the one that has done BK, whether if it's in college or varsity, right, the red epaulette. So those are the ones that you're gonna consult with. But like for BP and stuff, you will be taken by the auxiliary and everything. So we all start in that you know, first room, and then we get our, you know, our temperature, our weight, our BP, and then after that you sit and then you go and see the sister. Now guys, tell me why I was super shocked when my name got called when there were like probably 14 people in front of me, and I'm like, hey. And I do remember, like, the people that were there, they were just looking at each other because, wait, like the line was going, and when they will call, it's the next person, because they sat in the line and ordered, which they arrived, but somehow my name got called first, like, and I was so shocked. But who's going to say no, guys? Ujamba Elaine. Like, guys, I was sick. I wanted to go home. I was not gonna be like, oh, there are old people here. Like, I was sick. Okay, it's not a situation where I was okay. So I walk in, you guys. When I enter, Utandaza is sitting on the side, and then there is a nurse here. She's also auxiliary because she does not have a single epaulette up here. And I'm like, okay, guys. When I get there, there is an HIV test that is already laid on the table, and on top of that, the needle that's supposed to be used on me, it's already open. Now, for some of you guys that do not know, all needles in whether hospital or clinic, they are all sealed, okay, and they can only be used once. You cannot be pricked by the same needle that pricked someone else. So it's very important that if you're walking in and they want to use a needle that is open, that they do not open in your presence, you should refuse at all times. Even if they say no, it just opened, refuse and say no, I want one that is sealed, that's gonna be opened in my presence. Like, that's the biggest advice that I can give you right now, because people must seal it out here. So when I went there, you guys, like, the needle is like already open. The HIV test is already put on the table. And so when I walked in, as I said, Tandaza sitting here, she's like doing like this. And then when I opened the door, she lifted her head, and then, you know, she's doing like this. And so I'm like, I'm not here for UCC. I'm here for eHelp Yaka government, okay? So I walk to the sister and I sit down. The nurse, I sit down. When I sit down, she's like, I'm gonna test you HIV. Like, it's not an ask. It's not a question. It's a, I'm gonna do this. Now I'm looking at the table and everything is spread out. The needle is open, everything. And this is, I feel like at this point, that place is so small to a point where everybody knows everybody's business, okay? So I had also heard that Utandaza is positive. And I was like, Tandaza is sitting here. This needle is already open. I walk in, the first thing they want to do is prick me with a needle that is already open. And she's sitting here, and I know her status, like I've heard of her status. And I know that she's an evil person. Like, you think? Now, it could have been one of two things. It could have been that she did want to infect me, or they wanted to know my status. She also just wanted to know my status. She went in there, spoke to her nurse friend, and maybe they were like, yeah, Umfazika, who is here? Yeah, some test. Which honestly, I don't think that it was just a matter of she would want to just know my status. I do think that girl really wanted to infect me. Like, that's how evil I know she is. You know, that's what I really truly do believe, hey guys. And so obviously what I said was no. I said no. And then I remember she lifted her head back again and she looked, and I said no. And then the sister said, why? The nurse was like, why? Because this is procedure, I have to test you. I was like, no, actually when it comes to HIV, you have to get my consent, and I'm not consenting. So no, I'm not testing for any HIV. I didn't come for that. And then that nurse was like, okay. She took those stuff and then she put them in the bin. And then after putting them in the bin, mind you guys, this is a test that has gone to waste. I don't know if the test is sealed or not. I'm not sure, but I know that the needle is supposed to be sealed, so already it's unsealed. You cannot use it for the next person, you know. So she takes everything, she throws in the bin. Tandasa is now just sitting looking, and then the lady's like, okay, she stands up, she starts to take my BP, and then she takes my temperature. She's not saying anything to me, and then after that she was like, she wrote, and then she gave me my file. After she gave me my file, I went to the sister's room, and when I got there, I consulted, and then I walked out. Now, mind you guys, this is pre-car days. Oh, girl was walking. Bangenya was zombie. I was Johnny Walker at that point, or Jennifer Walker. So, as I'm going home, guys, because I was alone, I do remember that at that time, I think it was like June. So we were both at home. I don't know why my husband at that time, he didn't come with me. I think that he was actually like working at this other place at the computer, like he was trying to make some money where they were not even paying him Shem's capsule. But anyway, I do remember that my father-in-law was home. Both my in-laws were home. But when I was going home, guys, like it kept ringing in my mind. High Tandas, I was in there, and when I went in, they wanted to force to prick me and test me for HIV with a needle that was already open. Number one, there was no counseling, there was no asking. If I was someone that just did not know my rights, I would have just allowed, you know. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so evil. So what I did was that I went home. When I got home, I talked to my mother-in-law, and I'm like, yo, you won't believe. I got there, I saw Tandaza. This is what happened. She was in there, this and this happened. And I didn't say, I'm suspecting, or she wanted to infect me. Guess what my in-law said? She was like, hey, she wants to give you her things. Hey, yeah. And I think that with her, she kind of took it very personal in terms of, obviously, if they give it to me, then it's giving to their son. Do you know what I mean? So I'm now just like, oh my gosh, like the moment she said that, I was like, crap, like I'm not making things up. The fact that my mother-in-law would also think that this woman is as evil to can do that, and that's the first thought that came to me. I was like, hell no. Oh, hell no, you know. Now my mother-in-law actually hears this, what's happening. My mother-in-law is furious. I'm going to that clinic. My father-in-law is like, no, you're not going, I'm going. Yeah, at that time, you guys, like my father-in-law used to love me so much. I won't lie, he used to love me so much. He would never call me with anything other than Koti. You know, that's what he used to say. He was like, Koti, let's go. Hi, guys, is this not me? And my father-in-law, we're going to the clinic. When we get there, my father-in-law is like, I need to see the sister or someone in charge. We go into the office. When we get into the office, it's like, explain what happened. I explain, this is what happened. Now, when I was there and we were waiting to see the manager, it was me and my father-in-law. Tandaza did see us, and then she walked back into the room, and she never came out. I never saw her again after that. So we went there. After we went in there and talking to the manager, my father-in-law was so pissed off. Where do they get the right? First of all, HIV status is a private matter. She was not asked. She was directed, and even if it was a matter of their testing her, why is it that there are two nurses there? And mind you, what they were trying to do was clearly out of the law, because no counseling was done, nothing. My father-in-law was actually threatening to take it to like regional or something. It's like, I am definitely going to call them and explain this. We're gonna take this matter further. You guys are not treating your staff. You guys are doing this and this, and you're putting our children in danger, this and this. She walks in, there's a needle that is already open. How do we know that the needle didn't have anything? You understand? And I felt like his concerns were really honestly genuine. And so when we left, it does seem like it was really a huge thing, because in that nurse, I think they got called. They did get called. I can't remember if they got written warnings or they got verbal warnings or something, but later on, Rakadi did tell me that she was there crying at me and my father-in-law. We want her to lose her job. So basically, us from that household, we want her to lose her job. Hey, we're hating on her. Hey, this and this and this. And I'm like, honey, you know you is crooked, you know? Like, guys, it's honestly like still one of the wildest things that have ever happened to me. Like, and I just think like that one moment, guys, could have changed my life for the rest of my life, because you never know. I do know that, oh girl, she's not a good human. She's not a good human being, Shem. I will never lie on her. She's not a good person. And due to the fact that we had multiple fights and everything, I honestly wouldn't put it past her. So I'm not saying that she tried to, but honestly, I'm saying that I suspect highly that was the girl's intentions, because why was she sitting in there? Even if it was just a matter of she just wanted to know my status, she was already wrong for that, because you is not going to use your position in the clinic to try get people's statuses. So let's say, God forbid, I was positive, then was she going to go ahead and now start telling everyone, oh, HIV positive, hey, this and this and this and this, hey, this and that and that? I was like, yo guys, people are evil. So if there's anything that I can tell you guys right now, never ever get tested for HIV unless you want to, which I do feel like you really should. You know, it's better to know your status. But if you're being forced by someone, don't do it. Rather go to a different facility and get it tested there. Do not ever have someone force you to have an HIV test. That's the first thing. The second thing that I can go ahead and say is that never ever take an HIV test or any test that requires you to be pricked by a needle that was not open in your presence. Like, that is very, very important, guys. I remember the time that I was still a nurse, my mother used to tell me, don't cap the needle. So capping the needle means after you use the needle, you put the plastic cover back, because remember, it's sealed in a paper, but it also has a plastic that covers it. So there are many nurses that contracted HIV whilst capping. So when you're capping, instead of the cap to go in, you accidentally prick yourself, because maybe it went the other way and you prick yourself, and maybe that needle was used for somebody that was HIV positive, and you become HIV positive, because the HIV virus, if I'm not mistaken, it stays for 5 minutes out of body, and you can still get you can still contract HIV even if the blood is out, if it has not been out longer than 5 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. I know that, you know, the world, the health organization, they keep changing these things, but from last I heard, I think it was 5 minutes, you know. So it's very, very dangerous, and I know the dangers of an open needle that you did not see being open. Like, even till today, I don't care where I'm at, it did honestly traumatize me, that thing, because even now, like, I don't care who you is. Jew is not using a needle on me that you did not open in my presence. Like, if you had already opened it, honey, you will get a new one and open it in my presence, because that thing ain't coming anywhere close to my body, because I know how dangerous they actually are. You will think you're testing and you do come out negative, and that's when they're giving you the virus, because there are people that honestly, ethically, they just are not right. And so that's basically what happened. Hey, I feel like the story time got a bit long, but I did try to just chop off certain stuff. But me and Tandaza, like, yeah, we would not see eye to eye whatsoever, and especially when we moved in with my in-laws, they were like, it even got worse at this point, you know. So basically, that is what happened, guys. I do want you guys to go and comment down below what you guys think. Like, please tell me, do you think that, like, my worries were valid, or is it a matter of you think like maybe I over exaggerated? Like, did I think too much? And if that is the case, what was the reason? Because I know she hates me. What was the reason for her and her friend Ness to have me skip like 15 people? Hi, Boban, Gijimisala, to test the HIV that I never asked for. Well, that's another evil boy. I'll never forget that. I will never forget that. But anyway, go ahead and comment down below what you guys think. From me, Owamie, I love you guys. Stay blessed. And there's nothing wrong with being HIV positive. I just do personally feel, keep it to yourself if you can. You know, keep it to yourself. Don't spread it. You should be the last HIV person, and you do not give it to the next person. You understand? But anyway, I hope you guys understood. I love you guys. Stay blessed, and I will see you guys in my next upload. Bye, ninjas.